There we go. Oh, interesting. We are live. Hello, everyone. And it said we have an error on your Super Love and all of my Facebook. So something is going on with Facebook.
Huh, where are we?
Great question. Hi, whoever
Are
is.
we on YouTube?
We're on YouTube and LinkedIn, it looks like, and that's it.
Okay,
Strange.
that's okay. Let's just talk.
Yeah, let's see. I'm going to click these one buttons and just see if it'll get fixed. And if not, then we will go for it. Strange. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to get fixed. So we're going to have to post those another way. So hello, whoever is here. Thank you for being here. We're talking today about love and money breakthroughs. So we are, I'm going to scroll this right thing across the bottom. And then topic wise today, we're going to talk about really surprising tips and strategies that help you get you what you want faster in love and money. And so Macy and I get to have amazing conversations around this stuff all of the time. And we were jamming out, writing down notes and thinking, we got to bring this to our people because these are topics that come up a lot. And the overlap between love and money is so prominent. And so we want to bring you tips and tools and conversations, inspiration today. So is there anything you want to share there, Macy, about how we decided on this topic?
Well, I just like how, these things are actual real live things that are occurring in our own businesses and with our clients and that it gets to be a kind of revelation from the present moment. I mean, you and I both have similar things. It seems like every time we connect, there's something that's popping that's very similar that is, an opportunity to really look at it and see how much more we can create from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that stood out when we were talking about it before is why people don't ask for what they want and how it slows the process way down. So I was thinking about this morning when, we were posting stuff and getting ready to come on live, which hopefully the Facebook fans will get to watch it later when we post. I know it's a bummer. It's the first. So this is live time stuff. So I want to share this with anyone who's watching who is a business builder. Live time stuff is interesting because when stuff comes up, you just got to roll with it. And every single one of our Facebook accounts is not connecting and we don't know why in the moment. So we're going to go with it.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I blasted this out to my entire community via email prior and announced it everywhere. So it's like, oh, well, sometimes this is the way things work out.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there anything before we talk about the notes that you and I had written up before thinking about what we wanted to highlight? Is there anything that's standing out to you at the current moment? I have a lot of stuff that's coming up for me right now in my business and in good ways and want to share, but I'm curious if there's anything for you.
I think the thing that's sticking out for me real time is that like when you're asking for something, like I was asking for adding matchmaking to my business, and I still may do that. And so I took some steps towards that. And then it came up that I don't know if that's actually what I want to do. So it was like I started getting into it and I started feeling the energy of it and something wants to change there. So I guess the reason why I share that is because you can start asking for things and it may evolve within that. But the point is that if I hadn't asked for it and started taking those incremental steps towards it, then I would just be sort of waiting around wondering if something else should happen. And so it's giving me information.
Yeah. I like that you and I are having this overlap because we haven't talked about this. And, it's that piece where when you ask for something you want and then you take steps in the direction, like you're talking about, maybe I want to do matchmaking, you start looking into it and then you start to take an action in the direction, but it doesn't feel aligned anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
sometimes people struggle because let's say you're a really powerhouse go-getter and you go, oh, I've already committed to this, so I'm going to keep going even if it doesn't feel aligned,
Yep.
which slows down the process of manifestation. And the picture behind that is if you take no action, it slows down the process of manifestation as well, because sometimes we just think about it and we plan, and you can get stuck in analysis paralysis and never
Yeah.
take any action. When you take the action, something that's happened to me so many times is that I'll take the action in the direction, and then doors of opportunity open up differently than I thought they would.
Yeah.
But they open up because I'm in action, and the more action you're in, the more that you have opportunities coming your way because you're open to the possibility of different things happening. That's what
Yeah. I think it's that. And I also am noticing when you're talking that part of this reason why it's even something to talk about for me is because I've invested money in it.
Yeah.
So I've invested money in a platform. I invested a lot of time in mapping some things out, and I'm at a place where it's kind of asking to be something different. And I'm not sure if that at this moment, if it means, canceling that whole thing out, or there's something different about it that wants to come through. So, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions around that, but it is really, the paralysis part. Like if I was stuck in, oh, I can't spend money unless I know it's going to work piece, is where I see a lot of people not growing at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like one of our tips is to have more certainty in what you're asking for. And so it's an interesting contradiction. This is why this stuff gets complicated, I think. And you can know a lot, and you got to start experimenting and practicing. And then you understand why you need certainty while simultaneously being detached. Because, if you go like, I'm not willing to spend money unless I know if it's certain. Well, you need to open your thinking to, I'm going to spend money, and the way that it's going to come with certainty is going to be different than I might have thought. So that
Yeah,
detachment,
exactly. I
right?
mean, I am not attached to the money I spent already on that. What I'm
Yeah,
more committed to is like what's going to be fun to create. And, at this point, I'm seeing that the energy is different, but it's the same thing with relationships, because a lot of people won't start dating or put themselves out there because they don't want to get it wrong, or they don't want to get in the wrong relationship. And people will ask me, well, how do you know someone's going to be a good match? And I said, there's only so much you can do that's going to inspire you to maybe go on a date, but you're not going to know. You're not going to know. I mean, people could seem perfect and then actually be completely different than that once you get to know them. So giving yourself, those incremental experiences without needing it to be, you can't know. You just can't know. And I do believe that if you ask for it, you will get it. And exactly what you said. Won't it won't necessarily look like what you think it's going to look like.
yeah,
And you can ask yourself right now, like right now, how many, when did you ask for all of the things that have arrived in this time and space, that are here now? And I'm guessing for me, my business in the energy and the creation that it is, where I get to work from home and be with my animals, and I create all day, and it's like a women's camp every day. And that's what I asked for like 17 years ago.
yeah,
So it wasn't instant, and it's here.
yeah. Yeah, well, and thinking about how can I get what I want faster, it's like knowing that it's already here all right now, and you're creating you're planting seeds. You already planted seeds in the past for the present that exists now, and the future that you are also creating simultaneously.
Yeah.
It's so wild. It's so I get so geeked out in this stuff because I'm like, oh my God, things did not happen the way that I thought they would. And they're even better than I would have ever imagined. And I'm so grateful that I decided to get clear on the essence of that which I wanted to create. And then and then took actions. And I mean, you're making me think of so many things, because I think about times that I've invested money in programs, let's say, that I was like, oh my God, this is the next solution. This is the answer. And I invested a whole bunch of money and started taking action. And then it led to a different open door where I let go of the attachment to going, oh, but I put 10 grand into this, but it's opened a different door for me. And if I hadn't put that 10 grand into this door would not have opened. So even though it seems like, wait, but I wasted money on this, I actually invested in finding this new thing because I was willing to invest. So it's never a loss, but it's your perception about it that matters, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that to me, I love being able to just focus on all that's working and being able to really go into the place of like, what would I love, whether it's, the meal I want in 20 minutes or like this future life that I want to experience, that it's always about asking. And I think it's interesting because how many people are in the space right before that, the hoping, the wishing, and not actually making that ask.
Yes. Why don't people? Because, something that we wrote in our notes to talk about is like, what keeps you from asking for what you want? Why aren't they willing to make the ask? What do you see with yourself, with the people you work with? What comes up for them?
I see a couple things. One, for me, I know that there were times when I just didn't expand more. I just didn't have anyone around me helping me kind of see that there are greater asks. My greatest ask was, so low bar. I mean, I hear women all the time who are saying, I just want someone who's nice, and I know that they mean more than that, but
yeah,
you get to ask for someone who is mutually uplifting. You get to ask for someone who's sexy, someone who's rich, you get to ask for those things. And people think that it's wrong or bad, or they're judging their asks so that they're not even giving them that space of possibility when it may be actually something they would really want. They're making it wrong.
Yeah. And what do you think makes them make it wrong in their mind? Like, I mean, for me, when I think about it, I go like, I've done the same thing. Like, personally, I haven't noticed until later, and I look back and I go, oh, I could have asked for this a lot sooner. But when I started the process, I asked for something. It's like a settling ask almost, where you go like, oh, I've been able to have this in the past, so then I'll stretch it just a little bit instead of stretching it huge and going like, I'm capable and it's possible to have the huge ask. And I didn't know that until I started getting more of the things I wanted. And I'm like, oh my God, I could have asked for this so much sooner.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm aware that that's happened, and I'm aware like times that you and I have worked together where my awareness of my greatest ask was still lower than what, our conversations together could expand into. And then it seems so obvious at that point. It seems so obvious. Why wouldn't I ask for that? Why wouldn't I ask for that level? And there's, worthiness issues and all sorts of weird stuff that I think distracts us from it, from our past or from society when it comes to money and love. There's just so much charge around what's okay to ask for, and the subtleties of it. It's like the subtlety of how, we have these deeper decisions about not outdoing our parents or not outdoing someone or something. And so, I see that depth in the deeper work that I do with people one-on-one, but I'm sure, you see the same things, like what people think they can have, like, because they're so used to seeing it a different way, like stretching the space of possibility requires getting out of your head and going to a completely different universe.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me think about how we don't know how abundant we actually are, or that it's possible to really create anything we want. And of course, it's not. I think about like times in my childhood or past when I felt really stuck and scared and afraid and alone. And, there's not necessarily people in your life at many points in your life, like you when you're a kid or growing up, where people are pulling you up like that and going like, it's possible to have
Yeah.
anything you want, like we actually learn as kids to limit ourselves and our asks. Like, I mean, a little kid, if you say unlimited, like give me your Christmas list or, whatever birthday list, let's say, they will write down 100 things and they won't cap it. There's no limitation on it. They're like, I want everything, until we say to them, like, wow, like you want all these things, or this is cost too much, we can't afford that, like all of the layering that happens, or shaming them for something they want, and it's unintentional usually by parents, and we forget how much of that gets blocked. And so that what I see is like people go, oh, now I've got to start to minimize what I want because it's not, I'm being too greedy, I'm too much, it's too much, it's not possible. And so this is totally affects us in love and money, right? Like
totally.
we see it happening around us everywhere too, where sometimes we see other people's potential and they don't see it. And so, I mean, obviously as coaches, this is what we are paid to do, right? Like we see other people's potential and help them step into it. It's harder to do for yourself. And that's why it's so important to get help, right? Like it's critical that you have people in your life pulling you up, seeing the bigness of you, training your own brain to do it yourself. And then, so I'm thinking, we were talking about strategies and tips, and we were talking about like remembering that you can ask and it is given. How do you help people do that and step into the bigger versions of themselves? Because if we're saying like, we want to help you get there faster, what's a really practical tip that you help your people with?
Yeah. I mean, I would just say, like, what would you love? I mean, that is a question that I love to give people and to help people, or invite people to play with. What would you love? What would you love? What's the greatest thing you could imagine in this case? Sometimes it's hard to think about it when we're talking about our entire life. Like, what if you just start looking at how you function with the simple things? I noticed that I was the woman who would go to a restaurant and really base my choice off of pricing. I'm not going to get the most expensive thing. But then I started asking more about, okay, well, what does my body want to eat? Like, what would be delicious? And like following that, it's not always the most expensive things, but sometimes it is. And letting myself have the awareness of where I stop myself. So, I mean, that's just a simple thing, but I also noticed I would like keep my favorite things until the end. It's like, it's like only using the coolest china on holidays. Like, what would happen in your life if you actually ate off beautiful plates every day, or dressed up every day and wore the clothes that make you feel really rich? And so then that example can be stretched into a lot of different spaces, because it is the awareness of how you're choosing, how you're functioning, and then starting to say, oh, well, that's kind of interesting that I'm kind of lowballing myself. What would it be if I didn't do that?
Yeah, those are such powerful examples. I was thinking about how I've done that too. Like this is a funny example, is like salad dressing. Like they had this one salad dressing I loved, and I would notice it's like getting lower, so then I wouldn't use it because I wouldn't want to use it up. It's like, go to the store and get more.
Yeah.
But it is like, it's such a good symbol of how we what that is scarcity mindset, right? Like,
yes,
it's gonna run out, so I've got to savor it instead of just going like, it's my favorite dressing. Go buy 10 bottles and eat as much of it as you want when you want a salad, like it's just, and I used to do that to myself so much because there was this subconscious belief, like there's never going to be enough. And
Yep.
so I've got to savor it and make it last, because what if I can't get that bottle again or whatever, And so it's the same thing with love, right? It's like, I think people settle a lot in both money and love. They settle for what they have because they think this might be the best that it gets.
Yes.
Even if it doesn't feel good. And it's really hard to sit in pain. And in order for you to break through the next side, you've got to sit in that moment of pain by asking. Partly it's painful to ask for it and not get it immediately, because we then have to control this part of ourselves that goes like, oh, see, it's not going to come. I'm not worthy. I asked too much. It's not happening as fast as I want it to. Right. And then what happens is we struggle, which causes the energy of pushing it away instead of calling it to us more quickly. So it's like in faster manifestation, the faster that you can put the ask out there and then release and surrender from the attachment to the timeline, the faster you'll get it. And it's probably, from my perspective with myself and people I've worked with, one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
Because we want it now, and we want it. When we don't get it now, then we start limiting what we ask for. Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's just all of that then diminishes, like all of that slows it. It's like, okay, well, the satisfaction of having the perfect salad every day, like, so you're going to drag that out and have only a few perfect salads. Like,
Right.
so, there you go. I mean, right there, you just lengthen the timeline of having amazing salads in your life. So, I mean, to me, the more acknowledgement of, wow, this is really what I love. This is what works for me. This is what tastes great for me. This is what I like to wear. Like all of that energy then naturally is going to draw it in faster. And it is kind of an interesting thing to say, because we can't sit here and say, oh, you're going to have more money faster, or your person's going to show up in 3 months. And I do believe when you put these practices in place, you are naturally in more of the being, the ask, because you're doing those things that really light you up, and you're affirming the things that work for you. Like, the salad dressing is the lover, right? At that point. And and it is the money. It is all those things. And then, I have seen more magic in the last 2 weeks than I have in a while. Again.
Me
And
too.
so it's because I am choosing to do things differently. I am not getting lured away by those scarcity distractions, those like scarcity goblins. I mean, they really are like that. They're just like, oh, and if you've been doing that for your whole life, it's okay. You're probably going to fall for it a couple more times. And what we're talking about here today is an opportunity to go, wait, I always order the cheapest thing on the menu. Today it's not going to happen. I don't care if that's all I have in my bank account. I'm going to do an experiment and see if this creates more for my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's that leap of faith that shifts things. And it's such a good example. It's like, because, when you go like, oh, okay, am I looking at what I want to eat versus what the price is? Because if you're looking at the price, you're not fulfilling your desire instead. And you're going like, oh, do I have enough? Can I afford that? Right. Mm-hmm. And it's so similar when we look at one thing. I think this is an interesting example, but one thing I loved about online dating was that I was talking to Abe about this weekend. I was like, it was kind of amazing to me, because I got online and I realized like, oh my God, there's a plethora of people out there who are available.
Yeah. I felt that.
The sky's the limit, like how fun is this? It's like, you can just like experiment and play and see who's out there and see what's available. And I was like, it was so liberating, because before it was like, it was limited to like who I would meet out and about. And now it was like, oh, there's a whole world of opportunity out there. So it was almost like going to the restaurant and looking at the whole menu
Yeah.
versus going and looking at the price and going, oh, I can only afford that. I'm going to choose
Mhm.
this. Instead, going like, I'm going to look at the price. I'm going to choose what I want to eat and I'm going to go out and have some fun. It's the same thing, you know, and I go like, it happens so fast. When you were saying, you know, we can't tell people here like you're going to manifest something this quickly or create it in your life however quickly. The thing is, you can create it as fast as you want. It's up to you,
Yeah.
depending on how many blocks you have, how many limiting beliefs you have, whether you're willing to ask for it, whether you're willing to get out of your own way. And that's why people get so stuck. Because
And if you're willing to receive it, because then that's the other
yes,
part. There's plenty of people where, you know, if their receiving is basically zero
yes,
and they have a couple little ideas about what it means to like actually receive something that they want, if
mm-hmm,
they're only basing it on like one or two pictures, then to your point about, oh, I invested 10 grand in this program, which led me to this program. It wasn't really
yeah,
that program, it's this program. And I got this and then I got this. And like you're seeing how it evolves. Whereas there's some people who may stop there. So, you know, giving yourself the opportunity to open up to receiving in greater ways, like turning up that dial.
yeah,
I talk about that a lot. It's like, okay, you know, turn up your receiving. There's processes you can do that, but you can just imagine turning the dial all the way up to starting to receive for more things. And, you know, you may not be able to connect the dots as to how that is part of the manifestation of the ask you have right now, but later on you probably will be
yeah.
seeing the pieces.
Will you share how, from your perspective, like how, because you say turn up the dial. I want to make sure people know what that means because I know what that means, but I want you, like, what does that mean to you? And let's give people some tips because that's a tricky one. And how do you know if you're not doing that? Because I think most people think, what are you talking about? Of course, I want to receive $1 million or a really great love life, and they think that they're open to receiving. So, what are some symptoms to know that they're not?
Well, that they're not. I mean, if they're
Well, like,
not,
what
they're
does that
not.
show up as? Because
So
they think they are. I think that most people think they are.
think that they are receiving.
Yeah, they think like, of course, I'm open to receiving $1 million,
Right.
or of course, I'm
Okay.
open to receiving a wonderful love life.
Yeah, I mean, it is more of a woo-woo process, I will say. I mean, and to me, what I do is I just check in with myself, with my body, and go, okay, you know, how what's my like receiving percentage today? And just like tuning in, get a number. I just got 70%. So now I can like be aware of that, turn up the dial and just like notice in my consciousness, in my being, what happens when I just expand my space of receiving. And you just ask it to expand into more. If you're not receiving, you're likely contracting. I mean, the scarcity is naturally a contraction. Most people feel that if they're feeling like, oh my God, I don't know if I can pay my bills. What does that feel like? Typically, a lot of people will say small, contracted,
Yeah,
stressed.
fear, a lot of fear.
Yeah, it's a fear thing. Fear is a
Yeah,
contraction. So if you're noticing that, what can you do to then start going, okay, I'm not buying into that. That's a
yeah,
lie. You know,
yeah,
affirming the truth. I'm an
yeah,
infinite being. I can create. I have the power to do that. Start implementing some tools, expanding your field and just asking it to expand. And sometimes you'll be doing that every 5 minutes, you know?
yeah. I like that. I think that, yeah, I always like to give a really practical, like, how can you, you know, because if someone's watching and thinking like, well, how do I receive more? How do I know if I'm not receiving? So what I hear you saying, and I would totally agree with you, is like, you feel contracted, you feel scared, you feel like you're blocked, you feel stressed about what you're receiving.
Yeah.
And so then you go, okay, to start to shift this energy in a new direction, I can say, I'm open to receiving.
Yeah.
Like that could start you in a new direction. Like, I'm open to receiving. I'm open to
Right.
receiving more love. I'm open to receiving more joy. I'm open to receiving more abundance. I'm open to receiving more money. And just watch your energy shift. And then every time you notice yourself back in that feeling of fear or blocking, then I'm open to this. And
Yes.
because openness is a receptive state, fear is a closed state. And so anytime you're stuck in limiting beliefs, fear, self-doubt, inner critic, beat up, imposter syndrome, uncertainty, and imposter syndrome shows up in dating like I'm not good enough to get who I love. Imposter
Yeah.
syndrome in business shows up like I'm not good enough to charge what I'm worth. And so we go, oh, okay, I'm open to charging what I'm worth. I'm
Yes.
open to a beautiful partner coming my way or a wonderful,
Yes.
whatever the words are. So it's like, we make it so complicated. Like there's some magical formula. And the truth is it's like very simple. Like, are you in a
It's
feeling
choices.
right? And awareness. You got to be aware.
Yeah. I mean, you just make these choices. And even though I'm open to receiving, like sometimes I wouldn't believe that. I would get stuck in that. And if you're stuck in that, I say, add a couple I'm opens to it. So I'm open to being open to being open to receiving.
I
Like
love
you add a
that.
couple more and it
Yeah.
you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there. It just
Yeah. And it's like it's practice. You're building a muscle.
mhm.
So it's like when we go like, hey, we want to help you get what you want faster. The way that it happens faster is by building the muscle. I've been using the analogy a lot of exercise because I go, why do we think that we should just be able to wake up and have whatever we want without doing any of the energy in to create the training in the direction of our success? So like I've been talking a lot to people. I have a money course that I just created, and the third lesson is train your brain in the direction of success, of money making success specifically. But it's like it's a training of your brain. It's
Yeah.
a training of your brain to have a great relationship. It's a training of your being, right? It's like we don't think, oh, I'm going to go to the exercise, like go to work out once a month for an hour, or even I'm going to go work out once a month for 3 hours and think that that's good for the whole month. We've got to do it
Mhm.
daily. Like take care of your
Yeah.
body daily, take care of your mind daily, take care of your heart daily. Like show up every day for yourself, and then you get to have the things that you want faster. It's NFA radical responsibility, right?
I love it. Yeah. I love that. That class sounds really great. I think it's so true. I mean, and some of these things I've been practicing for a really long time. I had a lot of resistance to a lot of these things
Me
and
too.
just not, being so in the habit of of it not working. So one
Yeah.
of my
And feeling stuck.
biggest barrier was the habit of things don't work. And
Yes.
then, if you have that, I encourage you as fast as you can to like crinkle it up and throw it in a fire because like that one is is definitely
Will you share, Macy? Like that sounds odd. I mean, I agree with you. And will you say more? Because I think a lot of people get stuck in this. Like, what does it mean to be stuck in the habit of things don't work? Like, are you having certain thoughts? Like, how does that
in
show
the
up?
well, it would be that you try something and that your default is,
Mhm.
it's not working. Because you may have a picture about what it needs to look like to work. Kind of our whole conversation here. It's like letting go. If I mean, to me, I just flipped it. If you know that things always work out for you,
Yeah.
if things always work out for you,
Yeah.
then even if, oh, this client runs away or this guy that you thought was perfect disappears, things always work out for you. Like that
Yeah.
is in the alignment of you getting exactly what you asked for and trusting that and celebrating that. Like I find that can be the most powerful space. The times when I've like efforted and tried to convince people or try to get them back or, no, 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 like all of that. If it did actually create them coming back, or it always proved that the initial reason why
Right.
they were going away was because that was actually going to create more ease in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So being able to be so bold as no matter what occurs, things always work out for me.
Yes.
down to the things that seem so hard. I mean,
Yeah.
you hear these amazing stories of people who, you know, have tragic things that occur that create a completely different reality, whether it's an accident or an illness or a death of a loved one, like, and these things that transform their lives so much and bring something that ultimately feels
Yeah.
so destiny.
Yeah, I mean, my example of that, like when because a lot of people who know my story know, like, I had an affair and left my relationship, and then my next relationship, we broke up, we got back together, we lived together, then we didn't live together, and then he ended up cheating, and that's what really ultimately ended the relationship. And at the time, of course, it was so painful, like, oh my God, painful. And as it was happening, I was so grateful for having this work that I know, and this paradigm of beliefs where I go, like, everything's always happening for the best, for my highest good. Things always work out for me. So you get to sit in pain differently and know, like, damn, this is a painful moment, and the loss of is the gain of that which is more aligned. So it's like the loss of that, like, painful in the moment, and also knowing, like, I'm recalibrating for something else that's more aligned for me and for him too, right? And then
Yeah.
you can always trust, like, the universe is always working in the highest good of all. And for me, it's like, oh my God, thank God, my relationship now is heavenly, and I love it, and it's like amazing, and I wouldn't have been open to that because I would have been with someone else.
Yeah.
And so it's like trusting that. And in my business, and it's similar to what you're saying when we open this conversation, when you're talking about the matchmaking, and then stepping into it, and then questioning and defining, and sometimes I think people think, do I have shiny object syndrome because I lean into it and then it's not working and I give it up? You've got to know that for yourself. So I tell people, like, that's something, if you have a pattern of getting into something, and then before you even give it a chance to be successful, moving on to something else in shiny object syndrome, or is it that you're going, I'm diving in, I'm refining myself, I'm learning what I love, I'm getting more aligned, and then I'm taking just pivots, right? Not throwing it all away and then giving up and then starting all over because of imposter syndrome and fears. Instead, I'm going, like, I'm self-reflective, I'm aware, and I'm asking myself, like, okay, ooh, I like this part of this thing that I've decided to dive into. I'm going to refine by cutting off a few of the things, and then I'm going to keep moving forward. And I do this. I know you do this. I do this in my business all the time.
Yeah.
And it has led me in amazing directions. And it's trusting exactly what you're saying. Things always work out for me. When I follow my intuition, I follow the feedback of my feelings, and I go, like, is this aligned? Is this bringing me joy? Am I receptive? Can this expand? How can it expand? And I am in that state. I always trust that I know the answer. And so, like, everyone here watching, like, or listening, like, wherever you are watching this right now, know that it's choice. So Macy and I are talking about awareness, choice, asking for it, being open to receiving. Get out of the habit of telling yourself that it's not going to work out for you. You've got to decide to train your brain in the direction of, like, okay, the universe is supporting me. I can ask for what I want to the fullest capability, as much as I can expansively ask for it right now. Hang out with people like us, be here when we do these, be here in both of our channels, and, like, just train yourself in the direction for this, and you can get what you want really fast. I'm curious for you, Macy, what you would say about this, but, like, I've been so inspired and intrigued and in awe of how quickly I can manifest things now. I'm just like, oh my God, how cool.
I know.
So fun.
And yeah, I am with you. And it's just, it's almost hard to believe that, that it can be easier than I ever thought.
Oh, yes. That's such a powerful mantra right there. It can be easier than I ever thought.
Yeah. And it's just that opportunity. I mean, I have more relaxation, which I know I've done a lot of, like, busyness and pushing and efforting in creation in my past. And now there's just, it's really being the greatest champion for yourself. Because even getting support and working with people and having all the people that I have around me, including you and all my other coaches, like I'm definitely not skimping in that area, that it allows me to, you know, really continue to expand those possibilities and in an easier way. And they're not doing it for me. Nobody's doing it for me. I'm doing it for me. And I am taking care of my own environment and my own space. And that to me is a choice to have fun and have the ease and know things are working out for me and not waste time, which I used to waste a lot of time with the inner critics and the doubt and the miserable stuff.
Yeah. God, that's been a big one on my radar lately, is the time piece, and going like, time is a precious, valuable commodity. You know, like, what are you using your time on? Are you stuck in inner critic beat up? Are you stuck in doubting yourself, which makes you be more of a perfectionist, strive to be a perfectionist, which never works. And then you don't take as much action. And, you know, it'd be like, I think about people like creating a profile and never wanting to put it out there because it needs to be perfect before they can attract someone. Or, you know, in the money world, it's like, okay, people go, oh my God, I've got to tweak this class until it's perfect, instead of perfecting it as you bring students into it and getting it better and better over time. And then just allowing the expansiveness to grow. And it's like, I love that statement. It can be easier than you ever thought. Like, I've been really into, on my run this morning, I was just doing I am meditation. Like, while I was running, I was like, I am this, I am that. You know, it was like, it was so magical and amazing. and it, you know, it's like remembering the power of just that. Like, whatever you say after the words I am is so incredibly potent and powerful. And that's what you're going to attract your way. So it's like, if you're stuck and you want to manifest faster, you could say, I am open to manifesting faster. I am open to joy. I am open to receiving fun. I am open to being fun. I am open. I mean, you could just start with, I am open to receive. You could do, you know, I am a powerful businesswoman. I am a multi-million-dollar businesswoman. I am you know, like, I always like to say, I am the world's greatest money healer, you know, like, just go for it. Like, have fun with this.
Yes.
I mean, that to me is probably the key foundational lesson. And I understand for everyone here that, you know, watching this, it's like, maybe you're feeling really stuck. It's easy. You know, I think people can sometimes say, well, it's easy for you to say that, you've got this whole life, yada, yada, yada. It's like, but I didn't start there. I started on the floor crying. I've had like all kinds of crazy shit in my history. And I didn't just turn out this way. I've done what it takes to become this person who gets to attract, because I'm being this person. Like, I get to choose it. We all can do this. I want everyone to know we can all do it. Like, that's so important to me.
Yeah. And if you're really, 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 really stuck, then you get to ask, like, what do I love about this? What do I love about being stuck? Like, what does being stuck actually give me? You know, because sometimes there's I know with the whole being wrong thing, like feeling like I was always doing it wrong. I was like, there was something that, like, if I didn't have that, then I'd be wrong about that. So it's like being able to be like that kind of sneaky with our own tricks. Like, if we really continue to choose something that keeps us stuck, or we continue to find ourselves locked in self-doubt, like, what do we love about that? And are you willing to be wrong about being right about that?
It's such a great question. What do I love about being stuck? I don't remember. It was a book or something I was listening to last week, and it was talking about that. It's like, get real with yourself about what you actually want. And it's, you know, ties back to what we're talking about, like, asking it is given. And why don't we ask for the fullest thing? And the truth is, some of us are addicted to being stuck. And so we go like, oh, well, ask yourself, do I really want to keep recreating this reality? Because if everyone knows my competing commitments, it's like you're saying one thing, you're getting another, then there's somewhere in you where you love being stuck, or you wouldn't keep doing it, you wouldn't keep creating that. So it's like asking yourself. Sometimes I ask business owners when they come to me and they're like, I want to build this to this level of success, and then I can see certain stuck points, and I go like, are you sure that's what you really want? Because not everybody actually wants to do what it takes to have a successful business. Like, not everybody actually wants to do that, and not everybody wants to do it to that level. It's like, if you want to have a successful business, you've got to like be all in. You got to be committed. You got to show up every day. You got to do this growth work. You've got to have the spiritual evolution to become the person who can make huge value in the world. And that takes showing up on camera, even when it feels uncomfortable, and saying things that you don't always know the answers to, showing up revealed, being vulnerable. Like, those are big things to do in the world. And not everybody wants to do that. Like, we all want the outcome, right? But are you willing to are you willing to decide that you don't want to be stuck anymore? Are you willing to show up in a way that people are going to see you in that state all the time, and they're going to watch your ebbs and flows? Like, are you willing to do those things? I know there's a ton of overlap in love in that way too. Like, are you really willing to show up and be the person who can attract a really incredible person?
Yeah. And do you even want a relationship? I do think there's a lot of people out there who may be saying that, and it may be, and I, in my teachings, I'm constantly reminding people that there are infinite kinds of relationships out there, and that this is not about trying to be what your mom wants your relationship to be, and getting under that. There's so many things that can play into this. We could have done probably 10 of these.
I know.
To go through all of the different sections around this. So, really, to the point of like, what do you love about being stuck? It's like, well, what do you love about being single? And there's actually a lot of fun things about being single, but there's also sometimes some interesting things where, you may be aware of you being the spinster for all time is like pissing off your parents, and that's wicked fun for you. If that's the case, you can start kind of getting, and then, you may want to choose something different. It's just noticing and getting under the layers, which not all of this is going to be like an instant sense, but there is, there's no wrong way of doing you. You just have to look at what your choices create. And if that's working for you, great. If it's not, then ask some questions. Get some help.
So powerful. As we're talking, and I'm writing down some notes because I'm thinking like, oh my God, these are such great topics. And we could have done like an entire weekend workshop on it.
I know.
There's so much depth here. Asking, do you even want it, reminds me of this idea of like the one-sided fantasy we have of certain things. And like, I've had to unpack mine about wealth. Like, it's like the infatuation with money in terms of like, when I was on food stamps, daydreaming that money would solve everything. And the truth is, what solved my life, and when I say solved, like made it easier and more flowing, is me becoming a different person. It wasn't the money. It was the journey to becoming a wealthy person, and wealthy meaning like health and well-being. And my money grew as I became a more empowered person within myself. But it was like asking that question, like, do I even want it? Like, what's the it? Clarify for yourself. Is it love that you're looking for? Is it companionship? Is it, is it with money you want freedom? Like, what is it that you want? Maybe you already have it. Like, because we already have everything right now, we just aren't noticing it. And once you start noticing it, then that gets to expand in new ways that you choose. So, you might get to notice like, oh my God, I feel so poor and in survival mode and stuck, and my business isn't flowing and my money's not flowing. And then when you go, wait a second, am I stuck? Or am I just fantasizing about a different life that seems less stuck, but realistically, I could do quite a lot of free things that make me feel free right now and have freedom. And then you realize like, oh, I actually have freedom. And then you just expand that. And then that energy of freedom causes you to attract more money to give you more freedom. So you always become it first and attract through the place of becoming, and then it expands and grows. It's not the other way around.
Yeah, I definitely have seen that.
God, so many good conversations.
Yeah.
I love talking to you. And
It's so fun.
I love bringing these tips because you and I have explored so much in our lives, you know, like you and I really, at least what I know of you and I know of myself, like we are avid learners and we care so much about bringing that to everybody here. And so it's like, oh, it's so juicy and delightful to have this conversation.
Well, it helps me too. I mean, I love learning and sharing because when I can share what I've learned, it's even more powerful in my world too. And certainly, you know, people who, if you have questions, post them. Like we are excited to continue and create more of these. So
yeah, so let's put this up and then let's just close. I know we went a long time today. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and definitely put in the comments. I know right now it's only being posted. Are you gonna be able to upload it to your community?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so we'll upload it everywhere. So you'll be seeing it in those places. Share in the comments because we're going to be doing these monthly and we want to bring tips to you that you want to hear, things you're struggling with. So just make sure you leave comments for us and let us know. And for me, you can find me at all things NFA Money. So just go to nfamoney.com. And also, if you're stuck in the money world right now, go to the Money Blocks profile, and that will be your first starting place to get in, unlocked all kinds of awesome stuff from me. What about you, Macy?
Yeah, my name right there has yoursuperlovedlife.com. That's where you can find the latest things that I'm doing. Although I've just created something this morning, which is going to be a 30-day co-creating with the universe, which is going to be super fun for raising the bar. So I didn't even realize how it was basically the same talk. That's not even out there yet, but it'll be there soon. So
nice. And so if they go to your super loved life, they'll find it?
Yeah.
Okay.
In about 5 hours. But maybe people will be watching later anyway. So
okay. Awesome. Wonderful. Okay. Thanks everyone for being here. I'm just noticing one comment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Susie Nelson says Facebook and all its other platforms are down. That's why it's not working. Okay. Thank you, Susie. I don't know if you're still here, but thank you. Okay. We will see you all again. Until next time, we are sending you, I always sign off with NFA money making high fives. I don't know if you have a sign off.
I'm not yet. Yay.
All right. Bye, everyone.